What up, my fellow chess bros? We are back at it again with another epic day of chess. Today, we're just going to hop right on into a 10-minute rapid game. I'm going to be as educational and entertaining as possible. We're facing a 1924 Emmanuel. Have I faced him before? Looks like I haven't. We're getting a Sicilian. Open Sicilian. Por favor, Emmanuel. Because this is basically the line that I know the best. Open Sicilian. Let's go for it. I'm almost certain we can just pre-move that. Then we're basically hoping for this e5 pawn push where I hop over here. Okay. If he attacks, then we just jump in with check. Okay. If he pushes this pawn, which is the best move, then I push this pawn because I want to maintain power or control over this square and also still be able to develop my knight, because if I develop my knight, then I can't push this pawn, then this square becomes weak in my position. And what's interesting about this is I have never really studied it all that hard. I just play e4 every game, and so you run into the Sicilian. I think it's like a certain percent. Obviously, it's a certain percent. I think that you get it 40% of the time. When you play e4, you get the Sicilian. So it just as an e4 player. Now, I think these are interchangeable, but I choose this one. I choose this. Is that the correct move? I actually have no idea. But I think that our opponent here is a little bit lost in the weeds as well. And I have a healthy 1 minute time advantage. And so now that I have that time advantage, I'm going to either wait until there's a critical moment and really spend a lot of time thinking about what's the best move, or I'm just going to keep making simple moves that are easy to play and have a time advantage until the end game. Because right now, I can tell you, he has all of these moves. Okay. Do I just hop into the middle? I mean, almost definitely we see this, but then I replace the knight and defend this. Queen can't go here because of this now, which I quite like. This pawn push. I think I take here. His knight's probably going to come to the middle. Now, this check is something we definitely need to be aware of. This check is something we don't need to be as aware of. I don't want to go here because he'll just trade me off. So what if I go ahead and develop my bishop first? If we see this check, okay, so now we're going to develop this knight. So we've got two things defending this. His knight is in a wonderful, wonderful spot. And there's not too much that I can do about that. All I can really hope for is dark square bishop or the knight. And trading the dark square bishop for the knight in the middle of the board, that's not favorable for me. And making a weird retreating knight move to get rid of his knight, it's not the best thing to do. But he's almost definitely going to just play this, and then I get to castle. And I think that we have a more or less equal position. So I'm going to go ahead and castle. Probably bringing his queen out is what we're going to see. Both of those moves make a good... Oh, obviously castle. So now what he wants to do is bring out the queen, most likely. So he has a knight, not really outposted. Is this an outpost? It's an outpost. My pawns will never be able to kick it away. So he's just going to live there until I actually do something about it. So something that I might choose to do is go for this pawn break. If I get an open file over here, and if I trade, it's a tad bit weaker. So it looks like he wants to hit me with a discovery double check where I get pushed in the corner, and then he hits me with the queen, and I can only take with the rook, and then he smother mates me. Can you see that? Because that's what's going to happen. No, I'm just kidding. I could jump in with my knight, but then he can still hit me with this double check. Only move is in the corner. He can go here, but my only move is to take with the rook, and then he hits me with the... Does that make sense? Wait a minute. How's he gonna hit me with the smother mate? Okay, what should I actually do in this position? If I go here, I relinquish the defense of this square. I could just scoot the king over. Seems a little weird, but it would work. Let's do that. We maintain this. We walk out of the discoveries. I don't think that there was. I don't think that there was actually a smothered mate in that position. I calculated that so terribly. And I definitely gave up a lot of my time advantage. But you know what? Now my king is super chilling here on h1. We're going to have to do something about this queen being super, super active. And so something... Does this make sense now? I can also trade here. Or I could push. I kind of like the idea of just taking. He has to take back, and then I have a passed pawn, sort of. I think that makes sense. I think it makes sense. Now I can pin the knight. Still doesn't work because this square, I don't want it to be so weak. Let's see. What should I do? This move seems to make sense, but then, like... I mean, he can just scoot here. Then I scoot up. Does that solve anything? What if I just scoot my rook over? Slow, simple move. Gave up my entire time advantage. That is for sure. But my next move is quite simple. I need to develop this bishop. And it pins this. So that's a pretty straightforward move that makes a lot of sense for me in this position. And then, like, if I can get in here with my queen, my bishops are definitely looking over to this side of the board. Like, his bishop is not doing anything. Wait a minute. If I play this, he'll just straight up defend it, but then I could fork them. Then he'd scoot back, then I take, then he takes back, and then the pin is still there, but his queen is a little bit more in the position. I could scoot my rook over at that point. I think that makes sense. This is almost just definitely going to be what I need to play. Okay. That would let my queen get in. And I do have an open file over here. I mean, this knight scooting in will attack him. And then I have nowhere great to put him. But if he goes here, that takes away the square for the bishop. I think let's just go for this pin. It can't be a bad move. I mean, this knight comes on in. Kaboom. Maybe I scoot back here. You can't really take because you're pinned. I mean, then my bishop could come over here or something. Or maybe over here, and play on the pinned knight to the queen, which is not actually super difficult to untangle. He could just, like, move right now, and even if I take, it's not like I won the game or anything. But I could vacate, like a sacrificial, vacate this square to get my knight involved. Seems like a decent idea. And oh my god, yesterday I played a game against a 1900. Okay, so he scoots back. He's not actually pinned anymore, so my calculation didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, we're going to go here. Sorry, my nose is super, super runny. I think that he is kind of the one applying pressure to me. But I feel like we have to take that back. This is still defended by the knight and the queen. He scoots on over. He now has a few things attacking this. I could just, like, shove my rook in his face. And what's scary is if this moves, then my queen all of a sudden is pinned to this. Then this is a little bit weaker. So what about just rook into the position? Double up the rooks. We're going for it. That cuts off the queen attacking this pawn. My rook is defended with the idea of doubling up over here. I don't think that that really does much, but if I can trade some stuff, I do have a passed pawn, and right now it's protected. And so that's kind of what we're going for here. And I can scoot over like this. Now that there's only one piece attacking this, my knight is defending it. So I could scoot over like this, and I'm attacking this knight with two things. Also, hidden in this mess is I can just take this pawn. That pawn is hanging. Take that, and then my rook is temporarily defending this and attacking your bishop. So if he doesn't do something, he probably has to push this pawn. But then this bishop is never getting into this side of the game. Taking this seems like the move. If you go anywhere, I take with check, and I'm cool with that. I think this is my opportunity to be up a pawn. I go here, you can... I go here, you go here, I go here. I think we're good. I'm just going to grab it. This also defends this pawn, like, really, really heavily. We're just going to go back to where we were, I believe. I don't see what else to do. Continue to cut off the queen from that pawn. He wants to start coming over here. It makes sense. How many things are attacking this right here? We got a knight over here and a rook. Let's just trade. Let's just trade that. That had to have made sense. Doubling the rooks. Now we have the exact same amount of time. So we have just played a hectic game of chess. And man, playing chess, now that I'm 1800, like chess was a lot simpler a good amount of years ago. Because, like, not a good amount of years, but a while when I was a little bit less rated, like, you could find some tactic in the beginning, but then the higher and higher you go, it's just like there's no mistakes. So the game just continues and continues and continues, and it normally ends in like a really complicated end game because nobody's making mistakes. Okay, so he's attacking this. If he takes with the rook, we go here with threatening the queen trade. If I go here, if he takes, I take the queen, he takes my rook, right? If I attack the queen, if you take here, I take, you take, I take. Okay, so let's just tickle the queen. I feel like maybe I'm just making a blunder. Because if he takes here, okay, so he can't. He has to do something with the queen. So this bought me like another 10 seconds to think about what we're doing here. Here. That's just checkmate. Bro. Dear Lord. I mean, I can scoot in, but then he just takes again. Then I have to sacrifice. Oh my god, how did I not see this? Is the most obvious thing ever. And I can't push the pawn to defend it. I can scoot over. And check here, check here. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. This is not checkmate anymore. Give me this check. I run out. Your bishop comes in. I then hide. My queen defends this pawn. Got a lot of stuff on light squares that's important right now. But underneath it all, this is just hanging now. That is faux show. Like, his rook can just come down and take that. And if I take, well, if he takes, then I take. Then he takes. And it's not good for me. I really need to get in a move like something like this. Please go for this check. I think that that's actually good for me. And I'm up a pawn, so even if I do lose this pawn in the center, I need to just take a deep breath and realize, cool, now it's just even. Because right now I'm winning. Felt like for a second when that happened I was losing, but I think I'm going to be able to hang on. Oof. The only thing is, check here, check. If I step onto this file, that's a check. Okay, well, this is the only move, so let's not spend a million years thinking about it. He hits me with this check. I could scoot up. What if I scoot up? Does that make any sense? Here? I'm so scared. If we see this check, I literally might step forward to hang on to this pawn, is what I'll have to do. If we see this check, however, I might step back. Okay, he wants to go for this pawn. Just push, I hope, right? And he's got 1 minute. So he's really got to checkmate me. I've got 1 minute more than him to think about these moves. Check. Scoot up. The queen is locked in jail. Now I have a simple threat of here. Here is checkmate. What if I run now? What about scooting up? Check. Scoot back. Here. This check is quite scary, but I then scoot back. This pawn is defended. The queen is also defended. The rooks are defending each other. We're going to bring this out. Potentially jump up like this. He can come in here. Okay. Locking it down on the light squares. I mean, we scoot out of danger. You can hit me with this check. Okay. I mean, we scoot over. If I go here, this is the move that makes sense. He can slide in here now. Oh my god, he's trying to get a checkmate this way. I think we cut the queen off. We cut the queen off. I'm also attacking this rook underneath it all. Push a pawn? Am I hanging something horrendous? Okay, we're going to scoot over here to defend that. Defended. Here. Here. I'm winning, but not really. I'm not actually even sure. There were a lot of blunders to be made in this end game right here. That was just far too complicated of a position to be playing with for with 10 seconds each. And once I realized that I didn't have such a big time advantage, I mean, this was like I managed to just finagle some defensive moves. Everything in my position on light squares. Look at this. Literally everything. Because I knew he's got this dark square bishop, so I just played an entire endgame on the light squares. That was quite interesting. And so let's check it with the computer. I'm not even convinced that was super accurate. I feel like the endgame there had to have been blunder. But until then, I think it was fairly accurate. So let's go check it out. I'll see you over there. My fellow chess bros, I'm sorry that I ever played chess like that. Nobody should play chess like that. We made so many mistakes in that endgame. I'm sure many of you were watching that like, dude, you can just take that bishop. I made so many mistakes, but so did my opponent. This was one of the most inaccurate games I have played in quite some time. 49% accurate. Over half of my moves were inaccurate. How many moves were in this game of chess? Like, let's skip to the very, very end. There were 45 moves in this game of chess, and 12 of them were either blunders, mistakes, or inaccuracies. It is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Inexcusable. The only thing that can be excused is my opponent only played 2% better with 51%. And so same for him. 4 inaccuracies, 3 mistakes, 6 blunders. We are just all over the place. And look at this graph. This is not good. This is not how you play chess. We get the opening, and we're both like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing because we're playing top computer moves in the opening. We get to the middle game, and we just get to a certain point where things got way too complicated for me. They all started with when I took that pawn, I believe on e5 with my rook. That was a mistake for so many different reasons. We go along, I'm losing, I'm crushing, I'm losing, it's equal, I'm losing, I'm winning, I'm losing, I'm winning, I'm losing, I'm winning. It's a draw, and he loses on time. What? So we can kind of fly through the opening. What was that? We can fly through the opening. Generally, we play the open Sicilian. He attacks me. I jump here. Best move is to push this pawn. Then I push this pawn to maintain control over this square. If they attack you, you scoot back. I know what I'm doing. I throw my knight in the center. I could have taken this time to just develop a different piece. Why am I moving the same piece so many times in the opening? But it doesn't matter. It's still a completely equal position. He takes, I take. He gets his knight in the middle. I get my bishop developed. We just slowly getting the pieces developed. And I go for this pawn break. Because I play this in the Caro-Kann, this pawn break, so much, it's just it's ingrained in how I play chess. I play this F pawn break whenever I can. And so it is one of the best moves, but I could have, developed my bishop, brought my knight to the danger side of the board, tried to trade off this active knight. Then I scoop my king over. I should have just gone for the pin because him grabbing this pawn isn't impossible, but I just don't think that it's really good for him. So I scoot over. He brings a piece to the party. I take, bring my rook over. Best move. Oof. I was worried about making this move. I was like, no way this is a good move. But I wanted to just defend this pawn so I can get the bishop out. Plain and simple. We get the pin. He brings the knight. I could have essentially forced this trade because if he doesn't take, he scoots back and then I take. And that would have made things a little bit simpler for me. Or I can apply pressure to this piece. So he takes, I take. And this is where the inaccuracies start coming in. Opponent plays the best move. Then I play the best move. There's no real good way to defend this other than remove the knight or put the rook in between these two pieces. Then a few moves later, one move later, I completely forgot the reason I put my rook here. It wasn't to take this pawn. It was to prevent the queen from seeing this pawn. And so I take, and the reason that this is so bad is because of a crazy tactic that would be hard to see. You slide in, I scoot over, you sacrifice, I take back with the queen because I can't with the knight because this rook will see my queen. So I take with the queen, you move the bishop, you're then attacking my queen by this guy that's uber defended. I move my queen, and then you give down the exchange to remove the defender of my rook. And then it's just equal, but I'm losing. So opponent didn't see that, and so I'm able to slide on out of here. He doesn't see it. I trade off this knight because this knight is just applying too much pressure to this pawn in the middle of the board, and I wanted to get rid of it. I double the rooks, and then this is probably my worst move of the game. Literally, it breaks so many. Just when you attack a piece, think about where it's gonna go. And where does this queen want to go? This queen wants to go on h2 and checkmate me. So literally, why do I give up the defense of this square? It made zero sense. The only move, scoot over, check here. He comes down here to just apply more pressure on this. I scoot my queen up to defend this square, and I scooted my queen up. This is a multifaceted move. I scoot my queen up to get out of this, to maintain defense of this, and keep an eye over this sneaky check square. So when I made the move, I knew what I was doing. I was like, it makes sense. Then, for one, he can just get his bishop a little more active. But, okay, I defend the pawn. Then he hits me with this check. One of the simplest things you can do in chess to improve is when you get checked or when a piece gets threatened, check if you can just take it. And so, oh boy, this is another one of these situations. I can straight up just take this. Just take. Then he has to take back. Then I take with the king, and I'm just going to win the game. No questions asked. And so why I didn't do that is because I thought way too hard, and I was like, okay, we got to keep defending this pawn. I just have like a knee-jerk reaction of move the king. And I spent 6 seconds. This was a critical moment in the game. He blundered. I needed to just take it. I move the king. His bishop gets out. I scoot this up so that this pawn is defended. Underneath it all, my rook is just trapped. So I'd have to go down in exchange, and he can get out with the queen, and I'm just down in exchange. So underneath all of this, my rook is also trapped. But I feel like this position right here, with all of this stuff going on, is just such a complicated position to play completely accurately. So he gives me the check. I run. The queens now see each other. He scoots out. I do an undeveloping knight move. That was defending this. This same exact tactic here, it's a little bit different, but he can take, if I take, no matter where the bishop moves, this rook now sees my queen, which is pinned to the king. So I have to trade, and it's defended by the queen. So there was all that, a rook sacrifice in the middle of the chaos. But with 30 seconds for our opponent and 1 minute for me, don't hate it. We put all of my pieces on light squares, literally every single piece in my position on light squares. He takes, I scoot over. He gives me another check with this bishop, and this bishop is like a mosquito that I'm like gently brushing away instead of just smashing it when I should have. This is the second time it bit me. I don't kill it. I scoot over. Like, I'm breaking so many rules. I literally thought about this. Not only that, this bishop is now interfering with my two rooks from seeing each other. So with that check, yes, I can just take it, but it's even worse than that. If I don't take it, my rooks don't see each other, and he can just take my rook. And I didn't. So he can just take my rook. He doesn't see it, and he takes a pawn with check. This intercepts this rook from seeing this rook, so I can just take it. And I felt like the reason that I played this move was to get this queen off this diagonal. That's what I did. Oh, no, I was worried about this checkmate. So it's covered by the knight, but I wanted to cover it twice for whatever reason. That is what I did. Instead of, because yeah, this is scary. This is what I saw, and I said, you know what, we need to defend that twice. So I scoot the rook back. Don't hate myself for that with 25 seconds. We push a pawn. Again, I can attack the queen, whatever. We push the pawn. He scoots in. We defend. trade, and he gets out. And then at this position, I am winning, but with 12 seconds and 7 seconds, it's really just a flag central. I could have definitely gone for this one with the check and forced the trade of queens. That would have made sense. And really, I can like trade the queens. What's he going to do? I feel like he's going to have a really hard time with this pass pawn. And so, oh my goodness, what a just blunderfest at the end of this game. It was so many simple moves. And this one is really something that I'm going to have to like sit back and focus on when I play. Is you're attacked, can you simply take the piece? Yes or no? And so, wow. There was all of that, and then maybe this rook sacrifice all the way back. Taking this pawn wasn't worth it because it just opens up this rook with an open file. So right now, this pawn is sort of safer. But when I take this pawn, this bishop moves, and then all of a sudden he's just got too many things attacking my weakness in the middle. And that's like my extra pawn, protecting my passed pawn. And so ultimately we just succumbed to low time and just blundered everything. And so he could have played better. I could have played better. If you're going to learn anything, just learn that small variation out of the opening. And then just plain and simple. Plain and simple. Check if you can take the piece. When that move was played, I had 2 minutes to look at that. And all I thought about, if I move my king, this is not defended. So I wanted to move up and keep defending this. That's all I thought about. I was like, okay, if I move here, he takes this with check. I was thinking about like, where can I move the king? Where can I move the king? And there's a lot of squares I can't move the king. But I can just take so bad. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope that was entertaining at least. Like, I wish it didn't end on time. We could have played an equal end game with like +2 increment. But either way, I'm 1883. That means I'm 1893. I got 10 points from that being in 1924. And so maybe in my next video, I'll be 1900. So stay tuned and thank you so much.